Hello, my name is Esther Owana Edet. I'm from Nigeria and I'll be taking the lead on the discussion today. I'll be talking about my article, which is titled it's about Ochanya and justice system for rape victims in Nigeria. Well, before I do that, I'm going to let the other women here introduce themselves. So you just tell us your name and where you're speaking.
Okay, thank you. I am Patsy Ferguson, and I'm the editor-in-chief and publisher of Fourth Wave, which is the sponsor of this event. We have a feminist magazine on Medium with 51,000 followers now, and we want to spread our feminist message worldwide. So I'm so excited to be here and to talk about this with you all. I'm calling in from San Francisco.
Okay. And Moni.
Hello, my name is Muniba Kasi. I am from Pakistan, South Asia, and we are here to discuss this story. Last time it was my story. It was about the Halloween women face. So please check that out too. Thank you.
And Mona.
I'm Mona Lazar. I'm a writer from Romania, also a YouTuber. I write about feminist topics and politics and society and things related to that. Happy to be here.
Okay, so I'm going to be taking the lead on discussion today. We're talking about my story, or not my story, an article I wrote. It's about a young girl called Ochanya. It's it happened here in Nigeria. So it's quite an old case, but it resurfaced recently because of how deep and also because the victim is yet to get justice, like even with all of the evidence. So 8 years ago, this little girl, Ochanya, okay, let me say she went there 8 years ago was when she died. Well, 5 years before that, she went to live with her uncle or auntie. And auntie's husband was the one who did all of this. So she went to live with her auntie because in our village there was no school. And she wanted to go to school. And even till now, there's still no school in that village, which is honestly very weird. So there was no school in her village, and she wanted to go to school. So she went to the city to stay with her auntie, so she'd be able to go to school. While she was there, she started getting raped by a cousin, a male cousin. And then the female cousin caught her brother raping this little girl and reported to her father, thinking the father is going to do something about it. And I'm sure for a moment, Ochanya must have thought that finally she would be free. But instead of the father stopping the cousin, he joined him. So for the next 5 years, Ochanya was getting raped by these two men in the house until her body could not take it anymore, and she developed VVF. I can't remember the full name of that right now, but she could not control her urine and her feces anymore, and she suffered a lot before she finally died. So before she died, she was able to tell her story in a video. So that should be more than enough evidence. She was able to tell her story in a video. She was 13 years old at the time she died. So she told her story in a video. She explained everything that happened, that she was getting raped by these two men in the house. The female cousin knew. The auntie, who is the person that was supposed to be her guardian, also knew of what was happening to her in the house. And apparently this was not enough evidence for the court, I guess. And instead of arresting the cousin and the father, who were the ones who did this to her, the only person who got arrested and was put in jail was a auntie. And she was arrested, she was put in jail for 5 months on the basis of neglect, because apparently she knew this was happening and she did nothing. So it honestly beats me that somebody who knew, like, this was happening. Like a bystander was the one who got arrested instead of the perpetrators. But I think this is the country we're in. And on the anniversary of her death, that was last month, the case it was not reopened, but it just went again on social media. And we just had a lot of people asking for justice. This time around, then the cousin was still quite a young boy. I think he was above 18 as at then, but now he's a very grown man and he's a musician. The father or the uncle who did this to her is still a lecturer at the university he was lecturing in. Nothing happened to his job. So they have gone on to live their lives freely, like nothing happened. So everybody was asking for like, why are these two men still working free? Like there's so much evidence again. We even have a video testimony by the victim against these two men. So why is nothing being done? And even the fact that the wife got arrested is enough evidence, because like, what did you arrest the woman for if these men did not do what they did? So with everything happening, we got to find out that the conviction rate for Nigeria, for rape victims in Nigeria is, I think from 1970 to 2000 is less than 100. So like even with the hundreds, even thousands of rape cases that get reported, that's gotten reported over the past decades, the conviction rate is less than 100 because the justice system honestly does not care. I'm sorry, my voice sounds weird. I'm really sick.
Thank you for being here anyway. It's fascinating.
Okay, so with all the evidence, like the justice system does not care. And like even now, it just has to die down because nothing was being done about it. And it's not surprising that nothing is being done about it, honestly, because we live in quite a lawless country. We have a senator, like at the time when this case was going viral, we had a senator and his wife, their case was also going viral. He married this girl when she was 17 and he was around 50 something. So he married her and she's now 24 and she's now saying she's no longer interested in the marriage and he's trying to like publicly shame her to coming back to his house. And the reasons why she said she's no longer interested in marriage is because she said he made her do drugs because he liked her when she was high because he made her more free. She said he was beating her up to domestic violence. She said he was raping her consistently. So we have a senator doing all of that to his wife, and nothing was also done to the senator. So what chance does just random people have of getting justice if a senator is not going to be held accountable for his crimes? So we live in quite a lawless country, and we honestly do not care about women in this country. Just last week, in one of the states in this country, in Zamfara, because we have there's when I say terrorist attack going on, but basically there are villages being wiped out and parents are being killed and all of that. Obviously, a lot of orphan kids. And last week, 200 orphan girls were married off to strangers as some kind of empowerment. So not education, not skill acquisition. They openly married these little girls to 200 men. Openly, and it was seen as a good deed by the states. So that's the kind of country we live in. So before I talk, I'm just going to open the floor to my co-host. So I would like to know what justice is like for rape victims, wherever you are.
Wow, that's quite a story, and the most amazing part to me is that the woman goes to jail, the wife of the rapists,
and she's still with her husband.
Unbelievable.
So she came out from jail and went back to her husband.
So that shows to me two things. One, she's I mean, she's also a criminal. She shouldn't have allowed it to happen. But also
Yeah.
she doesn't seem to, she's probably internalized so much misogyny that she doesn't really even recognize the crime, or else she has no other options. I mean, why would she go back to a man like that? Um, Maybe she doesn't have any way to feed herself, or who knows. I don't know. But
Maybe.
we have a lot of rape here as well. And I was looking up some statistics just to get ready for this live stream. And what I found is that 25% of American women will be raped in their lifetime. And there are a lot of other statistics. I mean, our police departments don't usually um, prosecute the rapist. They don't, 1% of reported cases end in a conviction. I was a teacher. I was a teacher of a girl who was gang raped at a party. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, I hear that what happened in your home, and I know it usually does happen in the home, but I mean, not your home, but the Ochanya's home. But I'm curious if cultures where virginity is more prized have less rape, because we also have rape where a girl will get drunk, or she'll be out at dancing or something and she'll get drugged, or she'll be, or you can be raped by someone you're dating, and you don't want to have sex, but they force you to have sex. And it's only really not, it's been within my lifetime where people realize that that even is rape. When it's a boy you're out on a date with, they're like, how could that be rape? You started kissing him, you went to his house, you're on his couch or whatever, so that's not rape. But we're changing our mind about that, thank goodness, to recognize that you can say no. You can say no at any time. You have a right to say no, even if you're in the boy's house on his couch kissing him. You can say, I don't want to have sex, or I don't want to have unprotected sex, or I don't want to have this kind of sex, or I want to go home now. I want to stop. And so that's the consciousness raising that's happening here now. But I'm just curious if purity type cultures, which, we do have purity culture here also in some small Christian groups, but that's not the overall American culture. If you think women get raped less than that.
There are less rape cases when virginity is more. Honestly, I do not think so, because Nigeria is a very, very, very religious country. And we have two major religions here. We have Christian and Muslim or Islam. And if anything, it's more that rape still does happen, but then the victims get silenced. They get shamed to silence because of the purity culture that told that if anyone hears that they have been raped, they're going to be damaged goods. So they keep silent about it. They don't let anybody know. I had a friend who got raped while we were in university by a fellow classmate. And even his mom, his hands, even the police, even fellow lecturers, even our own dad was telling her that she has to stop talking about this because she wanted to push the case, she wanted to get justice. Even our own dad, his mom, his auntie, like everybody was just bent on shut up, like stop talking about this because then you ruin your chances of getting married in the future. So that's usually what happens. So rape cases are still very common. They just get silenced and shamed into keeping quiet.
I see. What do you think, Moni? You also live in a culture that prizes virginity? Do you feel women are raped less often there?
No, like I'm agree with Vana that it is more like victims are more blamed, or more they say that if she is raped, then she is like no good. Everyone blames women. When there is some kind of rape victim, firstly, they don't say that they are raped because of this shame they feel that I am being raped. They like hide it. If she doesn't want to hide it, that he wants that. So when she go to police station, they some kind of like bully her, like why you are seeing things like that. So now recently one drama going on about that rape. I'm very happy about it, that it shows that what should victim do when God forbid she is raped. She like there is so many things, and same like there this is our police system is corrupted. If someone raped the girl and he is like bigger power or something, he will never have a day in prison. Or if like there are so many cases, rape cases, but firstly people say that what was she wearing? Was she out late? Or like things like this. But there was one in, I guess, 2010. It was 6-year-old kid. She was raped, and someone killed her in Punjab, very near me. So when this happened, many people like say like this was the case with open many people eyes that it is not about clothes, and it is not about this and that, but still it is like case of 2010, and no one is still in prison. They didn't found anyone. Like it seemed like there the justice system is corrupted, police are corrupted. Like we can't do anything. Recently in India, the doctor was gang raped and killed, but there's uh, no one is in prison till now. Like what can we do? I don't know.
I read about that in Fourth Wave, about that woman who was at work at the hospital, a
Yes,
doctor, and she
yes,
went
and
to like take a nap
for
because they work such long hours. And here comes someone who also worked at the hospital with his friends to rape her and kill her. Not a doctor, but
they killed her, and they like destroyed all the evidence night, and like many people said like we saw this and that, but he was I influenced. He was some kind of hospital, mm, like the owner of hospital son or his friend or something like this. He was very rich man, so he's free with his friends. And she was killed, and every bone of her body was broken. Her,
oh,
her, her pelvic bone was broken, and her skull was crushed. I don't know what kind of they were like beating her with something, and it was very painful thing. And there was very big outrage of media and this and that, but after a year or two, it's like forgotten. No one remember her. People are still free going on.
I read that, and the government even, like you said, the hospital covered it up, the government
Yes.
covered it up, just protecting the perpetrators and not the victims. How about in Romania? What is it like there, Mona?
Well, Romania is not, it's quite European from the point of view of purity culture, so we don't have a lot of it. Actually, there was this joke going around, even when I was a teenager, that everybody was surprised if a young woman or a young girl said she was still a virgin, and everybody would be, oh, there are still virgins around. So we don't have so much purity culture here, but it is a traditional country. And of course, men and male qualities are considered better than women and feminine qualities. The thing is, that works more as some sort of uh, power men have over women in job places or in the marriage or in institutions, but it hasn't been it hasn't happened so much in violent ways, at least not as much as it used to be when I was a child, and when even women would say that if one of the women would be of the wives would be slapped or beaten up or whatever, even women would ask, well, what did she do to deserve it? So that has changed a lot in the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years. And also cases of rape, there aren't that many. I mean, compared to what I hear from various other countries, but also I remember when I was a child, there were cases of rape in the family. So a family member, an elderly man raping his daughters or his granddaughters or whatever young women he had in the house. And he would go unpunished because nobody would report this. People knew, the wife knew, the neighbors knew, and it just wasn't reported because there's this thing where we don't get involved in other people's lives, which is great, but at some point, what other people do could be criminal activity, and still nobody would report it. And also, if you were the victim and you would report something like that, or you would tell somebody, it would be shameful for yourself, for the family. It's not so strong anymore, but it did happen, and it was the same thing like it happened everywhere else. Women were responsible for men's shame and for the family's shame. It doesn't matter who did what, women were the responsible ones, even if they were the victim, if they were very young, if they were kids, they're responsible.
Mhm. I just want to make a comment about the audio. I think, Moni, that you need to mute your mic in between talking, because I was
Okay.
hearing some interference. Thank you. Thank you. But we do, of course, want you to talk. Well, I was, I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to.
I wanted to say that back to your question about if rape cases are less in countries where we have like purity culture and virginity is more prized. I feel like it's even the opposite, kind of. I feel like in less religious countries, I feel like there might even be less rape cases, honestly.
That's very
But
interesting.
I do not have the stats on that, so I would not know. But it's just Nigeria is honestly like if you even make very simple recession, Nigeria is very religious. Like, and we just have two major religions. the traditional is not as popular as anymore. So we just have Christian and Islam. And yeah, that like violence against women is quite a lot. And these two religions honestly do not believe in rape in marriage. And it's a debate to have had to have a lot over the past years because the law is also not clear on that. If a husband can rape his wife, which obviously he can, because women are not properties, they're not toys, they're human beings. And we also have a culture of, maybe this one is not maybe religion, maybe this one is culture, our bride price culture, which also values virginity. And with the bride price, when a man pays a woman's bride price, she basically becomes his property. And yeah, she's seen as his property. So her body becomes his. Even medical decisions sometimes has to be signed by him. And in more rural areas, these medical decisions are down to things like contraceptions. So these women cannot even get contraceptives by themselves if their husbands do not agree. And religion also make contraceptives sound bad, like contraceptives are bad. So you have these women that honestly, if they had more control over their bodies, would not have as many kids as they do. And that's another problem we have over here. So I was speaking to a friend who, because the northern part of the country is where it's more problematic. That's where it's Islamic. That's the Islamic part of the country. I was speaking to a friend who grew up in the north, and she said like there was this man who discovered that the local clinic, had given his wife contraceptive, and he and his friends went there and burned down the clinic because they gave the woman contraceptive.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You know what I like to say to that, as far as for the religious people, they say, "Oh, it's a sin to have contraception." Then I say, "Okay, well, it's a sin to you meant to masturbate, then you need to stop because all the little sperm have a right to become babies." And so, because I don't know if it's true in your country, but here everyone masturbates, okay, particularly men. And
Everybody masturbates everywhere.
yeah, right, right.
I think
And
so.
but somehow the male masturbation is not a problem. But but he's got semen, that's half the human being right there. And also, semen seems a lot more alive to me than an egg.
Yeah.
An egg is sitting there and the semen is swimming, So why aren't all these anti-abortion groups worried about the poor little seamen who don't get to grow up into babies? I
I'm
just,
not a conversation of abortion, but just talking about the basic contraceptives.
yeah,
So
yeah.
as big as abortion to them. So like abortion is like a no-brainer. Like that's not even a conversation we're having over here yet. But
Nobody gets that.
being demonized, which is weird.
Well, one other thing I just want to share. My daughter is very smart. She's a scientist, a PhD, and she used the pull-out method. I said, "Zoe, you can't use that method. It's not effective." And she said, "That's incorrect. It is effective if you do it. The problem is that people don't always do it. They don't always ejaculate outside the woman's body. And if they do, though, that's a very good and cheap contraceptive method." I believe her because she's smart, so she probably, and it worked for her. But you have to have a cooperative partner who's going to do that. Just FYI.
And I don't really it was part of the conversation, but honestly, the that's it's also an article I wrote about the birth rates in Nigeria. That's how like people see children as blessings, And because kids have lessons, like you obviously cannot prevent pregnancy. You cannot prevent a pregnancy. Like, don't you want lessons? So it's also down to like, would I say the gender, how women are being victimized over here and all of that. So it's like, it's especially in the north though. It's especially in the north. Like you have one woman having as much as maybe 8 babies, and it's not like they can even take care of the kids. It's just these women they do not have autonomy over their bodies. Like I said, that man found that they gave his wife a contraceptive and he went and burnt down the place. So these women do not have autonomy over their bodies. So they get pregnant, they have to have it and all of that.
I think that makes all the difference between having a life of under your control and not, is deciding whether and when to have children as a woman. And it makes you poor if you have to have a baby after baby after baby. You could never, you're a slave and you could never provide.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Here, my housework, she has like 10 kids and 11 is on her way. She's my house help. She's pregnant now. And one day she brings her like 5-year-old child here that I am pregnant. She is going to help you forward like housework. She was 5-year-old. I said, no, I don't want her to work for this. She said, I am I'm some kind of, like, if she doesn't bring money, we can't eat. My husband is not fine, this and that. I said, husband is fine giving you baby. He is not fine, like,
It's not provided for the
Yes, and she said no, this and that. If she doesn't work here, I'm going to, like, she said that every kid of hers should bring 200 rupees daily. If 5 years is going out and bringing, how can she? Everyone is going to have advantage of her. Like, give me this, then I'm going to give 200 rupees. This is very bad society for like children.
Yeah, and that's also that is over here. Kids are used as like the children labor situation over here is actually quite terrible. And when I first heard about the Ochanya's case, I thought it was also a case of she being sent to this house to be an outsider, because it happens so often over here. Because even though there are laws against it, the law honestly does not work. So these families have this many kids, and because they cannot take care of all of these kids, especially the female children in the houses, get sent as little as 8 years old, 9 year old, get sent to more wealthy families to be helps. And a lot of times it never ends well. And when I heard about the Ochanya's case, I thought that was also the case. But with Ochanya's case, it was the auntie. And also they also get sent to more wealthy relatives, and it also still does not go. But with Ochanya's case, it was an aunt. She was sent to this aunt because there was no school in her village. And yeah, and the cousin and uncle did that to her. But her family was paying them, paying the aunt to be able to take care of her. So it was not like she was just put under their care for free. So the only reason she was sent there was just to school. And they were paying for her feeding and education. just there was no school around where she was born and where the family stays. So they had to send her up so where she could go to school. But yeah, like these people, they give us to so many kids and they cannot take care of the kids. So these kids, especially girls, get sent up to more wealthy families to be house helps. And they get taken advantage of in most cases. And it's always sexual. If it's not sexual, it's harassment, like just they're not treated like human beings.
That's terrible. And I just, at least, I mean, I'm glad here we have laws against child labor, although if they're, I'm sure they're being violated in some cases, you know, and just having a law isn't enough. You have to change the culture so people don't find that acceptable. And I was thinking about our rape culture, the culture that it makes rape okay. And I was trying to figure out what is it that we could do, you know, to change that culture. And I came upon something that the government, I'm sure before our current president, had come up with a program where they invite men. They invite men to be allies, um, and they do trainings and um, I think that makes a lot of sense because right now on social media, on Medium, you know, all over the place, there's a lot of blaming of men, and of course, you know, they deserve that blame. But is that going to change their behavior? What this program was saying was one of the slides said, invite, not indict. So invite them to be this more positive masculine um, character of protector, defender, someone who doesn't allow this kind of stuff, that doesn't laugh. Even something as small as laughing at a joke makes a difference. You know, so I don't know if this is happening very many places, but there is a program, they call it Coaching Boys into Men, that was developed with government money and is trying to promote the idea that coaches can teach this morality in addition to their sport. Um, and teach boys about proper boundaries and behavior, because the fact that nobody talks about it makes it impossible, makes it very hard for them to learn, right? Nobody wants to have that talk with their sons about sex, about consent, about what they're doing in the bedroom, and also just about respecting women, I don't think.
Well, there's
Yeah.
also this because rape is not it's not about sex, it's about power and control. And that's been a part of the male psyche for hundreds of years, that they should have the power, they should have the control. And when they feel that they don't have it, they do something to have it and to feel empowered. And yes, obviously, just telling them that they're wrong about everything they do, that they're responsible for all the ills in society, is not going to make them better men. It's going to make them worse men, because they are going to revolt against that. Anybody would. And a more balanced approach, and as you said, Patsy, having these educating young men to be part of a healthier society, and understanding women and understanding what women go through. Yes, I think that's the solution. But we cannot expect to change it in just, a few years, because what's been done in thousands of years cannot be undone in 10 or 50 or even 100.
Yes, here too, there is no sex education, and young people, young men, young like boys and girls. There was one story I wrote about that husband raped her wife. He was teenager, like they married him in very like in teenage years, and it was arranged marriage, and he like killed his wife on first day of wedding, like inserting things into her vagina, and like they, it was internal bleeding, and he didn't know how to do like proper sex. He was like, but he saw it in porn and all of this. He said like, this is real thing, and like there should be like sex education for boys. I think this can reduce the rape cases. Yeah,
I think so. And I think for everyone, girls too. I mean, girls should learn that they own their bodies. They can say no anytime, how to say no, even role play. What would you do in this situation, that situation? And boys can be invited to be part of a better culture. Um, and I loved that Mona for a while had a YouTube presence that I thought, oh, this is great. It's kind of the opposite of Andrew Tate. It's
Yeah, that
appealing,
didn't work.
but nobody
The
watched.
Andrew Tate didn't work.
Well, that's unfortunate because I feel like, you have several kind of celebrities preaching the opposite, that women are to be used and they're evil and you should harm them. So it'd be great if we had engaging personalities on YouTube or on the podcast or wherever, preaching the opposite, but not in an appealing way, because I think they make it entertaining. They make it, they're not like going to church. They're and I thought your channel was very interesting that way, Mona, but nobody was watching it.
Well, it was interesting to me and to women. It wasn't interesting to men. Although it was directed at them, and the audience was mainly men. I don't know,
Oh,
younger men, but really all ages, who wanted to be with somebody. And I had dating and relationship advice, especially for young men who don't really know how to interact with women and be together with women. But unlike Andrew Tate, I wasn't telling them to be dominant or to be, whatever he's telling them. And they didn't like that because they actually, I don't know how much they were interested in dating. They were rather interested in whatever they wanted to hear.
mhm,
Not so
mhm.
much in the result as much as it was in, yeah, whatever you do, it's okay. You can be a prick, and it's your right because you're a man, and women like that. Women like you to to not be nice to them. That's what women want. Women want you to be aggressive and dominant. And I was like, not really, we don't.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
yeah, they didn't like that. So
So,
that,
but you didn't get it, and the way you understood that was by how many people watched or how many subscribers you got, or because you have maybe too high standards. I mean, we have like 9 subscribers, and I'm like, yay, 9 subscribers. To just get started, you got to start small, right? Maybe
well,
if
the
you
thing
could.
is, I saw that I was going nowhere with it because there was this video that went viral and it got the channel monetized, and I had about 4,000 followers. Yeah, but then I noticed that from these followers, there were very few who were watching. And people who started to watch, but they probably didn't like what I was saying and stopped watching. And then they were leaving negative comments, like the most. There was this recurring negative comment that I saw on other people's channels as well that were talking about dating. If they were women, the man would always comment, don't ask a fish how to fish.
Oh.
Like you're supposed to ask the fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
Us women are the fish and men are the fishermen. So ask other men how to get women. Don't ask women because we don't know what we want. Women don't know what they want. They would say one thing, but actually they would never admit that they want the dominant man. Just like, why wouldn't we? If that's what we want, we
Yeah.
will say what we want because we want to get what we want, right? That's just logic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose it wasn't.
Well, I do notice that we have a couple comments. I felt bad last time. I couldn't find the comments. I didn't know how to do it. And I tried to set it up this time to work on my phone, but my phone is not working. But I do have a comment over here from Penny Francis that says there's not much purity culture here. I don't know where you are, Penny, you should tell us, but it is still not taken seriously and women are blamed for their behavior. This is changing, but women are not confident in reporting rape. It is important to educate boys and for men to understand how to be allies rather than the not all men defensive reaction. More programs like this are needed with proper funding. So I agree. I had a hard time when I found that program extracting something I could share here because it was very long and involved, very slow to get to the point. So maybe next conversation I'll have some more to share. But Penny says she's in the UK. So thanks for weighing in. I'm glad that I could see the comments now. I want to encourage participation if people are interested and have something to add to the conversation. But I see that you've been back and forth. Are you okay? Are you doing okay? I know you're sick.
Connecting. My network kept disconnecting, but I think it's okay now. I wanted to add that with this conversation of men, like boys to men, like I feel like boys are not raised with the same amount of attention that girls are raised with. Like especially around here, I don't know how it is in other places. But there's this belief that like no matter what happens, a boy will be fine. But in girls are like they are caged and they're raised with so much morals and all. But boys are just left to. I have these neighbors, and they have two sons and two daughters, and I'm honestly genuinely scared of these boys. And the girls are so well mannered. Like I'm genuinely scared of these guys because they are so like that night and day. Like you would not believe they're raised by the same parents. The girls are so well mannered because they went to like all girls schools and all. They were always locked inside the house. They were basically caged because they were girls. And then the guys, the two boys, they're still not men. They're still quite young. I think the first one should. I don't know if he's up to 18, but he's joined like the bad gang over here and all of that. So, and the parents do not seem to care because left to them, no matter what you do with a boy child, is going to be fine. And I feel boys and girls are raised in so many families with that kind of belief. So we have a lot of well-behaved women dealing with badly behaved men because we're not raised properly.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right. I mean, in a lesser degree, in my country also, I mean, women are generally better at managing emotion, and by the way, that brings me. Mona is going to be leading the discussion next time, which will be December 14th, and she's going to be talking about women's emotions. You know, for a lot of our history here in the US, they've said, oh, women can't be leaders because they're too emotional. What'll happen when they're on their period? They might do something outlandish when they're hormonal. But in fact, you know, that's not really true. Women are the well-behaved ones.
Anger is emotion.
Mhm.
Because men are angry, so they don't think anger is emotion.
And anger absolutely is an emotion, and it's a dangerous emotion. And they can't control it. They can't seem to control it. So that to me means they're less qualified to lead. You know, just an ability to beat people up shouldn't be the only criteria for leading a community.
I was talking to a friend recently about this women not being able to be leaders. I have this male friend. Honestly, it's honestly really hard to find men that think right. Like is a very, you would think he's one that is very like, he has sense. I don't know how to explain it. Well, I was having a conversation with him recently, and it's also about the Ochanya's case. Oh no, I can't remember what it was, but it basically led to him saying that because of this women cannot be leaders. And I was trying to explain that, okay, but we have, Nigeria is currently being led by a man. Like, there are so many countries being led by men, and they are not doing well. So because we have just one bad woman, so we are going to say women, because of that one bad woman, women
Mhm.
cannot be leaders. Why don't we say because of all these bad leadership that men have displayed for generations, that men cannot be leaders? I don't know why people always I don't know why people always say that, because it honestly doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I agree. I'm noticing that we've been going 55 minutes, so maybe we should wrap it up. What I wanted to do was give everyone a chance to say whatever they would like from the couple of minutes. How about you, Mona? I know I'm gonna put us on gallery so we can see each other. I know you're gonna be the next leader. Do you want to tell us what you're going to talk a little more? I know I already kind of spoiled it, but go ahead.
You already told them. Yeah, we're talking about exactly this, how women handle their emotions and how men handle their emotions, and how capable each gender is to lead and to be successful, and what our emotions do to us and how they're different for every gender. And I'm not going to tell you more right now, because then I'm going to tell you half of it.
Okay, but I should have put it in the description. If I didn't, I'll add it after. But there is a story you can read beforehand if you want, to kind of get started thinking about the idea. A story by Mona in Fourth Wave, which I will put a link to in the description. Do you want to sum up in any way, Mooney?
I want to say this, that we we can change this world. I think so, that we women can change this world if we, like, now I am mother of very beautiful daughter, and I always say that she is like very cranky and she's colicky, and no one can, like, I take care of my house. I take care of, like, I write of her, and only men cannot do this. Now she's crying. My husband can't control her. So if we can do this thing, we can change this world. So let's hope for better world. Let's start it with as much as we can for this world to be great.
I hope so. I agree. We have a lot of strength and we don't recognize or credit ourselves for the power we
Yeah.
have. We have so much power as the people who raise the children. We could raise people to be different. How about you, Juana? I'm sorry I took over at the end. Do you want to close us out?
Honestly, like the only thing I can say to close is to bring back shame because it honestly really bothers me that this man that did this to Ochanya is still lecturing at a university, is still going to class, is still teaching, like, and nothing, like, even if the law is not going to do anything, like, the people around them cannot talk. So I wish society is more, um I don't know. I wish they would just make him feel like what he did was wrong. Because I feel like it's a thing of, oh, they're avoiding talking about it with him. Like, it's a lot of online talks and not a lot of things being done around him. So it honestly feels invisible. I wish these perpetrators can stop feeling like they were invisible. I wish they were shamed more. Yeah, and I feel we as a society can do that because somebody who is responsible for the death of a 13-year-old and who raped her for 5 years until she died should not be a lecturer in anywhere.
Absolutely. He should lose his job. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of the Giselle Pellicot case or Pellicot, the woman whose husband drugged her and invited men to rape her. And then there was a big trial in France, and she said she would have the trial be public, which was unusual for a rape victim. But her purpose was, she said, I want the shame to change sides. The
Yeah.
victims should not be ashamed. I shouldn't be ashamed that you monsters did this to me. You should be ashamed. And
And
that's,
to change sides.
yeah,
And she's always on women.
absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for coming, and we'll see you December 14th. Mona will lead the show, and I'll put a link in the description. And it's lovely to see all of you. And I'm gonna end the meeting now. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.